Hi, in this tutorial we will learn more on differentiation. We will focus on quotient rules and also chain rule. What is quotient rule? Quotient rule is whenever we have a function u at the numerator and also a function v at the denominator, and the relation is division. So it's unlike product rule. Product rule, the relation in the middle for u and v must be multiplication. But for quotient rule, the relation between u and v must be division. It's easy for you to remember because quotient means division and product just means multiplication. And do you remember what is the formula for product rule? For product rule is dy over dx equal to vu prime plus uv prime. How did you get it? It's from the crossfish. Remember your crossfish? When you have u and then v side by side, you find your v prime and your u prime, and crossfish is just the fish shape. So you start with v and then multiply with u prime plus with u multiplied with v prime. So that's where you get this formula. What about quotient rule? You also do the same thing. You write your u and then you write your v next to each other, and then find your u prime, write it below of your u, and find your v prime, write it below your v. And how does the shape of a quotient rule? Well, I'm going to show you that it looks something like crossfish, but it has an I with a negative sign and then divide with v squared below. Alright, so the formula for quotient rule for you to remember easily is just you start with v as well, and then you multiply with u prime, but in the middle, as written in that fish, is a minus sign, and then we write u and v prime over v squared. So that's the formula for quotient. Now let's look at a few examples on how to apply this formula. Example 1a. Find the derivative of the following functions. Remember, we can only use quotient rule if the two functions is divided with each other. So let's say on top, we always let it as u, and at the denominator, we always let it as v. And the operation for this function is division. So when you divide u with v, this means we have to use quotient rule. Remember the steps of your quotient rule. First thing is to write down what is your u. Next, write your v next to it, 2x plus 1. After that, differentiate your u, you write it as u prime. You should know how to differentiate this by now. For x differentiated, you get 4. And then differentiate v, you will get 2. After that, draw your crossfish, but with the minus sign as the eye of the fish and over v squared. Now, the formula of your quotient rule would be start with v because you start here, times with u prime. After that, you go up, you will meet u, but the sign is minus in the middle, so you write minus u times with last term is v prime, over it with v squared. After that, just substitute all of your terms inside. Start with your v and then u prime minus with your u multiplied with v prime over with v squared. Same concept as in product rule. Your final answer should be the one that has been factorized completely. So if there's anything that you can factorize at this step, please do factorize. But I can see that you can only factorize 2 or 4, but you can't factorize any other factor. So for this question, you can also expand to simplify, and then from here, after you have expanded, you can just simply subtract 8x with 8x. So you're left with 4 over 2x plus 1 squared, and that's your final answer. Now try out the other examples. Example 1b, c, and d.